last week, California Governor Gavin Newsom said that he thinks that trans athletes competing in girls' and women's sports was deeply unfair. Now, I want to hear what you think, because I'll tell you what I think, too.
Yeah, the last time I played a sport, I was 6 years old, and I was on a soccer team, but I assigned myself as the nurse. So I sat with the Band-Aids. And so, in the words of Wicked, I am not that girl. But a dear friend of mine, Skylar, he is a trans athlete. His handle's Pink Manta Ray. That's someone who I really look to for guidance. And I think that is what's tricky, is like, now stepping in this identity. I'm still like a baby trans. You know, I've only 3 years in. Tomorrow's my anniversary.
Your friend went from female to male and is competing with other males.
Correct.
No.
Yes.
Her friend.
Her friend went from female to male and is competing with other males.
So Gavin doesn't have a problem with that.
Well, I think part of the problem that the trans community is facing, and it's the same problem that women face, is if you don't know anything about our bodies, you don't know how it works. So when you come in and you say, oh, you know, these are men, you know, competing against women, you're assuming that the women are weak and just can't do anything except be here. Have you seen female athletes? They know what they're doing. So I'm not sure what's going on or why this is an issue. The same for me as when people say, oh, you know, I don't know how I feel about you. You do. God doesn't make mistakes.
No.
And the challenge is not to the trans people, it's to the people who are not trans. That's what God is looking to see, how you treat people.
Yeah.
That's what is happening. So I was just curious as to what I liked your answer.
Thank you.
I liked.
Be leaders ourselves.
Black women are being used by the Democrat Party.
All of these socioeconomic indicators are in the negative, particularly for black people.
They want mob rule. When Trump was in office, please somebody tell me, what act of dictatorship did he perform?
She had Donald Trump's hair on top of her head. And she's sitting here talking about brown girl this, brown girl that.
Because she's a black woman.
They would ask her how to spell her first name and clap like sea monkeys.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
What's up, everybody? I will go even a step farther to say the challenge is for sane people to correct this crap. I'm KJ. This is Pop and Politics. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me introduce you to my co-host. Of course, back with us tonight, Monday, is Tyrone Keys of Soldiers of Finance. We also have Nicole Bennett and Shelly E. All right, before we dive in, do me a favor, tap that thumbs up and subscribe right now. We are here on YouTube and we are streaming on Rumble. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify under the name Pop and Politics. We love our chat. We shout out all of our super chats, so it's the best way to get your voice heard in the conversation and to show your love for conservative content. This is not just a podcast. This is a movement of God-fearing, truth-seeking. A man is a man, a woman is a woman. For America-loving people who value freedom. Stand with us and subscribe so you can amplify this rallying call for freedom. All right, folks, let's set it off. I want to dig right into that exchange on The View. Before we do, I want to acknowledge our super chatters here. We have Kung Fu CJ with the $5 super chat. Yes. He says, where we here, hello ladies and Tyrone and the Pop and Politics family. All right. Thank you so much. Yes, indeed. So let's dig into this. As you guys saw, that was Dylan Mulvaney. We haven't seen him in a while, but The View brought him out of wherever he was to respond to Gavin Newsom coming out and saying that he felt it was unfair, deeply unfair, as he's quoted, for transgender girls and women to compete in female sports. So, Shelly, I want to get your thoughts on that exchange. What did you think there?
Oh, I was confused. First of all, I didn't understand what Whoopi meant. Let me say something, okay? All of you Puritans out there, hold your ears. I'm sorry. But Whoopi said something, if I understood correctly, that women don't know their bodies and it takes a man to know. Well, you know what? For heterosexual women, we do like men knowing our bodies. You know, our man. We do like that, Whoopi. You're right about that. But Dylan is a man. She is not, or he is not a she. This is a farce. And to bring him out to say that he knows women's bodies better than a biological woman or a quote unquote cis woman, the only ass that Dylan has been up lately is probably Whoopi's.
Oh gosh. All right, Nicole, what did you think of that exchange? Now, one thing, it looked like Dylan wanted to kind of stay out of it. Give him a little bit of credit. He said, you know, when it comes to sports, I usually play the nurse. So, you know, at least on that little small segment that we saw, it didn't look like he had much of an opinion. But what did you think?
So there's so much wrong here. I mean, I agree with Shelly. There's just so much wrong. You need kind of like a flip chart to figure out, is it a boy who was a girl who's playing in boy sports? I mean, it's just lunacy. It is this circular thinking that is perpetuating this false narrative that some way a man becomes a woman and a woman becomes a man. That doesn't happen. You can put all the lipstick you want on a pig. It's still a damn pig, right? And Whoopi talking about there's no difference between men and women, and that some way or another that people have it confused that women are so demure and so small that they can't compete against big men. Well, listen, biology teaches us that women can't compete equally against men. They have testosterone. It makes them aggressive. They have better spatial intelligence than women do. They are more muscular than women after puberty. All of this counts when you come to playing sports. And this is the reason why it's always been divided. Now, there are some intramural leagues where women and men play together, but that's not competitive like at a professional level or a collegiate level. Those are games like you would pick up kickball that we play in DC on the parking lot, that kind of thing, for fun, where no one's trying to necessarily win. But when you talk about professional level athletes, collegiate athletes, yes, these women are ripped up, jacked, torn up, and they're getting their butt kicked by mediocre men dressed up with lip gloss on. That is what this is about, Whoopi. This has nothing to do with Gavin Newsom saying it's okay for men to transition to women and women to transition to men. It's about fairness. This is all this is about.
Yeah, Tyrone, you know, Whoopi did say, she says, we're assuming that female athletes are weak and they don't know what they're doing, that they can't compete with biological men. What did you think of that exchange?
Well, I actually, for a moment, felt sorry for Dylan when Shelly gave us that visual of poor Dylan. Wow. But I'll say this. Listen, isn't it funny how this form of madness, this insanity that the left is trying to legitimize, isn't it funny? It only works with gender. Remember Rachel Dolezal? You know, she said she was Black. Okay. And my take was, hell, if a man can be a woman, why can't this woman
be Black?
Be Black. You're Black. But people didn't accept that, right? And I can guarantee you, so it doesn't work in the racial world. I can guarantee you it won't work in the economics world. If I go into Wells Fargo, Bank of America, JP Morgan tomorrow and say, listen, I identify deep within my heart as a billionaire. And so I need a loan commensurate with my status.
Before you send us there, Tara, I want to jump in just quickly. We do have a super chat here. Rose Readings says, watching from Israel. Love this show. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rose. That's amazing.
All right. Yeah, Tyrone. Yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't work in any other aspect of life. It is the left trying to legitimize madness. And listen, women do have strengths over and above men in terms of, for example, compassion. Okay. Now you go back to the women's liberation movement when the CIA, the IRS, and Gloria Steinem, as their little trained monkey, started to convince women that they didn't already have the most important job in society. Okay. And look where we are now. Okay. So the proof is in the pudding. Women, that was the strength of the woman, which was the glue to the all-important family unit, which is the glue to the all-important family unit. While that man, for hundreds of years, had gone out, killed a mastodon. Maybe he comes back, maybe he doesn't. But the mother is the stabilizing factor there. Compassionate, showing people how to live with a moral compass. And so that's the woman's strength. That the woman.
Let me jump in there, Tyrone. Let me jump in real quick. We do have another super chat here. Kung Fu CJ says, you see his Adam's apple trying to use makeup to cover it up. All right.
Yeah, but that's my take on it. Is it's just they're trying to legitimize madness.
Yeah, it's definitely clear. And even when they were discussing what was going on, they were even getting confused. Right. You saw Anna Navarro try to clarify. You're talking about your friend is a woman transitioned into a man and is playing against biological men. I mean, it's just a mess.
Yeah, it's a mess.
You need a flip
to figure it out. I want to say. I'm sorry, two things I want to say. First of all, I was confused because Anna Navarro, I thought she looked very much like Corinne Jean-Pierre with that outfit on the other day. Did she borrow KJP's outfit? Because she had on the same exact jacket and I guess the whole outfit. That's number one. But then it was a Dylan or Whoopi. One of them said that God doesn't make mistakes. They're right. You're making the mistake. You are making, I don't even know if it's called a mistake or if it's just a purposeful denial of the biological sexes. But nevertheless, you're right. God didn't see you as a mistake, Dylan, when you still are a male, but God didn't see you as a mistake. So whatever confusion is going on in your mind and your body, that is you and whatever issues you are. And I'm not even putting you down for that. Whatever confusion you may have mentally or whatever. But no, you're right. God never saw you as a mistake, even with your confusion, your mental illness.
Right. And still doesn't see him as a mistake. He has free will, just like all the rest of us. What stops some of us from going out and participating in lunacy is our commitment to living a decent life, right? Some people throw that commitment away for selfish reasons. Now, I don't know why Dylan decided to be who he whatever Dylan is. That's Dylan's cross to bear. You don't put that on God. God gave you this beautiful gift of life, and what you choose to do with it, you'll answer for in the long run.
Yeah, there's Jerry Early. Thank you so much for your super chat. Says, thank you, everybody, listening over here from Big Island, Hawaii.
Yeah.
All right.
We got to shout out. We have Hawaii listeners here. We have Australia. I saw Australia. We have Israel. Look, while you all are all over the world, we thank you. We appreciate you. Please, please, please stop by our website, poppinpoliticslive.com, and check out our merchandise and just drop us a line and say hi. We love you guys. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I am actually wearing one of our shirts that are on our website. It says, not Black, not white, American. And so this is what we always talk about here on the show. This division that the left tries to continually keep us in, we push back against that. And so this is basically what this shirt says. You can get it in a hoodie, in a sweatshirt, or different color t-shirts. So definitely go on our website and check that out. Just want to say one other additional thing. Does it feel like to you, so we just finished an election and the American people wholeheartedly said they don't want this. They do not want all of this confusion. We don't want men and girls sports. We want closed borders. We want to fix this illegal immigration. We want to fix our education system and so on and so forth. And it feels like these leftists, like on The View, MSNBC, all of them continue to just double down. I mean, they have pulled Dylan Mulvaney out of some guy's ass to get him on here to talk about these trans sports. What is going on? They haven't learned, it seems like.
You know what I find really strange with all of, like, okay, we've got a lot of people waiting for kidneys. Okay, we got a lot of people on chemotherapy. You never saw the Democrats go to the extent and say, you know, we're going to do whatever it is we need to do. We're going to fund these kidney transplants. We're going to find, you know, chemotherapy for everybody that needs it and all of these treatments. You never have seen that. Yet Kamala Harris sat at an interview and said that not only would she make sure that all prisoners who wanted to transition would be able to, but illegal immigrants would be able to as well. This tells you how sick this focus and ideology is, when they've never done anything like that for any other medical issue. This isn't medical, it's psychiatric, but they've never lifted a finger to be as forthright to put the emphasis on anything else.
Yeah, we have some super chatters in here getting into the conversation. So Claudette Richardson, thank you so much for your $10 super chat. Says, I am a hard roller in the DMV, lone survivor, constitutional Republican in PG County. When will you be doing call-ins? Oh, wow. We did a call-in show 2 Fridays ago, was it? So we say we're going to do it on the weekend shows, Friday or Saturday. So please tune in for the weekend show, and we will do that again. We'll do call-ins and have people call in. All right, Claudette, we love to talk to you. All right, Rico says the mind is very fragile, that can be manipulated. Absolutely, Rico. Mm-hmm. Charlie Lawrence with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much. We certainly appreciate you. That's a good point what Claudette said. We want to do our call-in show this weekend. What do you think, everybody? Call-in show this weekend?
No, that sounds great to me. I love it.
Okay.
Let's talk about it. Right.
All right. Yes, indeed. So speaking of doubling down, recently Black Lives Matter Plaza here in DC is being dismantled. So what is dismantling? So here's a clip for, take a look. All right. And I meant to say this before. If watching the view makes your eye twitch, but our takes make you nod in agreement, go ahead and smash that like button. It's the best way to tell big tech you prefer common sense over cackling hens like the view. So please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. So moving along to this Black Lives Matter. So the work to dismantle the Black Lives Matter Plaza street mural in DC that was put up in 2020 following the killings of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor began today. Reconstruction at the site of the huge yellow painted letters close to the White House follows calls to withhold the city's funding unless it removed the mural and renamed the location Liberty Plaza, which I love. So I want to start off about this with you, Shelley. You know, what do you think this symbolizes as they begin to remove this name, this whole plaza? I mean, do you think it symbolizes anything politically and culturally?
Politically, there may be implications to a degree because we have a new administration in, but remember, it was put down there for political reasons as well, so-called cultural reasons. I don't know what the cultural reasons were, except that Black Lives Matter largely destroyed every damn city they went into. Mm-hmm. So if that's a cultural phenomenon, then that's what it was. But look, for me, what I'm sick of, I've said this before, I'm sick of these infrastructure jobs that never get completed. So now we put it down under whatever her name was. I forget the mayor at the time. Now we're taking it up. We have these people out there doing construction back and forth. They're the ones who are getting paid. I'm sick of it. Just keep the damn street, whatever it's going to be, so that people can walk up and down that plaza wherever and leave it alone. Get the potholes and the bricks filled in and leave it alone. That's all I want.
Okay. Yeah, Tyrone, is this a sign that the political tide is shifting away from progressive activism?
Oh, yeah, it is. But also remember, people like Patrice Cullors, Khalid Camus, who is now a mayor in South Fulton, Georgia, who's got scandal ridden. Chokwe Lumumba, another mayor over in Mississippi. All of these Black Lives Matter people dismantled their movement a long time ago. Cullors went out, took the money, bought a $6 million mansion in California. A lot of the others are involved, again, I say, in corruption scandals. So it was nothing other than a big grift. That's what Black Lives Matter was. And the sad thing about it is a lot of people fell for it because they wanted to, protest wrongs. And hey, now what are they left with?
Yeah. So, Nicole, how do you believe the right can be more effective in shaping cultural and symbolic narratives? Or is that the job?
We're going to stand on traditionalism. This is what we do. Here's the thing. As the left spins out of control, because that's what happens. Something happens, they get triggered, they get overly emotional, and before you know it, they're marching for, a crackhead that held a gun to some pregnant woman's belly, like he's the second coming of Christ. And they step away from what keeps us together as a nation. It's up to us to maintain. These people will eventually burn off. They always do. This changing of Black Lives Matter Avenue, Boulevard, whatever it was, is insignificant. Listen, the mayor of DC knows what it is. She needs that money. Trump has said that he wants Washington, D.C. to be a shining beacon across the world. He doesn't want to have to step over homeless people. He doesn't want to drive past political statements. It belongs to everyone, not just the people who live there. And if you intend to keep being funded by the federal government, you will comply. Point blank, period. And she's no dummy. She knows where her biscuit's buttered. She's going to do what she needs to do to keep the checks coming.
Yeah. Yeah. We, I think Candace Owens was a huge help in uncovering and exposing the grift of BLM. We have been talking about this for many years. We were talking about how, it was a grift. And of course, we know now the data has come out. They have the money that they were getting into BLM was poorly used, was wasted, was pushed towards a lot of LGBT causes, and so on and so forth. But my question is to you all, do you believe that most of Americans, particularly the Black community, understand that it was a grift? Because now you see how many people on the left are saying, okay, maybe BLM, the organization, was wrong, but the sentiment behind Black Lives Matter still needs to be pushed. What do you think? It's important to separate those two, or do you believe both of those, the idea that they were trying to push behind BLM and the organization needs to be dismantled?
Yeah, I think those two need to be separated to this degree. The Black Lives Matter as an organization, like you said, Candace Owens and many other other people and information has come out. It's a large grift, right? Now, depending on what the issue is or what happens, depending on what happens, let me say it this way. There's a belief that we, at least on this show, don't believe that racism exists. That's not true at all. So I say it should be separated because depending on an issue, maybe there is an issue that may apply negatively, politically, if you will, that may impact some group or organization or whatever the case may be. And I want them to speak out. I want them to bring it to light, whatever that case may be. So this is why I think this should be separate. However, the larger question to the Black community, I think you are asking, is that do you think the Black community still believes this? I'm going to say 50-50, and I'm only going to say that in as much as social media is involved, because lately, particularly since President Trump has been inaugurated, a lot of people on social media are leaving the Democratic Party, number one, and they are coming to do their own research, and they're finding out a lot of things that they didn't know or that they were told the opposite of. So in that regard, I think those two things can be separated.
Okay. Yeah. So I want to ask you, Tyrone, when we think about this again, the whole idea of BLM, they were saying was targeting, Black community, was screaming out saying that we were being targeted by police. We had, reparations was kind of rolled into that, in the economic issues and things like that, all to do with the Black community. So do you believe social, political, and economic solutions, there are times where you should base these solutions on race? Or should there just be a flat out, as we've seen President Trump and many other politicians target different ills based off of the data and things like that, just blanket target everybody who's economically deprived or, things like that?
I believe in the latter, absolutely, that it should be based not on some specific, trait like a color or gender or a sexual preference, but on the data. Okay. Now, the essence of what BLM would have folk believe, what they were born out of, was the issue of police brutality, which is a worthy issue to take a look at. Police brutality, prosecutorial misconduct, these things definitely are ills within society that we need to keep these institutions accountable for, because we give prosecutors and police officers a large degree of power in our society. So when you see things like, for example, we did a video today on the Soldiers of Finance channel about Robert Brooks. He was an inmate who had been sentenced for a violent crime, but he had been sentenced and was serving 12 years. And about 7 police officers have been indicted because they beat him mercilessly to the point where he died. So that's the kind of thing that I believe, we need. And Brooks is one. There are plenty of white, Hispanic, and Asian people who run afoul of police officers who have a streak of authoritarianism in them. So in that aspect, that's fair game. But to focus that on just one set within society, I think that handicaps us all even further.
Agreed.
All right, folks. If you are loving the truth bombs we're dropping, make sure to smash that like button. It helps us fight big tech and get this message out. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so you never miss a show. All right, we are going to move right along here. So Randi Weingarten, the teachers union boss, was recently on MSNBC, and she had a fit over President Trump potentially shutting down the Department of Education. This is clip 5. Take a look.
Is why so many people are so mad about it, because they're just taking opportunity away from kids that don't have it. So billionaires, kids of billionaires, they have it. They go to private schools. Everyone else, 90%, go to public schools. Don't take away their opportunity.
So let's stay on the facts.
Sorry,
no,
I'm really angry about this.
No, because this
I'm
is what
really
people
angry.
need to hear.
I taught kids in Clara Barton High School in Brooklyn, New York.
Pernicious. They're saying, "Oh, don't worry, let's block grant it. So we'll give it to a state education department. Right. So and then let the state education department decide what to do." So we know, for example, what Texas would do.
Right.
They'll use it for vouchers. So they won't give it to the kids who have it now. They'll just give it for vouchers.
Catholic schools, religious schools.
All right. You saw it there. Nicole, what are your thoughts on this?
It's something about taking away their money that makes them so very angry. She's already a passionate person. I've seen her speak before, and that's her shtick, like her niche, that she gets so excited that she bangs, on the dais, and she kind of jumps around. But it doesn't change the flat out, give me the money and we'll take care of your children for you kind of grift that she's on. Removing the Department of Education is the best thing for children. Sending it back to the states. An example is Sarah Huckabee Sanders, governor of Arkansas, is saying that handgun safety is going to be a part of the curriculum there. And now, granted, that works well in Arkansas. We're hunting and fishing, and it's a much more rural way of life. That would not be something that you would likely see in, let's say, a New York City public school. Giving power back to the states allows them to educate their children to be the most productive citizens in that state, right? What Randi is arguing about, taking away the federal dollars means that maybe teachers don't make $90,000 coming in the door unproven, like they will here in Maryland, right? Maybe that's not what it's going to be. Hence, cutting into her dues as, you know, the National Teaching Association Union, it's going to be a little bit harder for her to make those dollars now. It's going to cut into her grift. So I get why she's upset. And her teaching at a school, thank you very much for your service to our community. I'm sure you were paid handsomely by the state of New York for doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to acknowledge our super chatters here, folks. Thank you all so much. We see the chat is on fire. Red Bucks with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. We certainly appreciate you. Yeah. Tyrone, what did you think of her rant? And do you believe the Department of Education should shut down?
Yeah, just a lot of liberal emotion, you know, light on, in her case, totally void of real facts. I've said on this platform before that it's a fact. The United States of America ranks number 18 in global education. And that ranking is performed by the State Department, by the U.S. State Department. So something ain't right. Now, prior to 1979, and the inception or the creation by Jimmy Carter of the Department of Education, we were number 1. So you go from number 1 to number 18. I mean, we're not even in the top 10, right? Something is rotten in the state of Denmark. So I'm an advocate for, you know, getting kids out of government schools because it's built on the Prussian model that teaches kids to be followers, not independent thinkers. And then the other thing we're seeing in school, as in public schools, that are very pernicious, is that this Pied Piper kind of effect. You know, you're spending more time with these people who want to indoctrinate than educate. Okay. And at the end of the day, that's not good for their economic future. And it turns them into liberal lemmings.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially when you have it all coming from a centralized government. You know, I agree. Education should be at the local and state level. Parents should be in charge of their education of or so I'd say the education of their children, whether in private or public school. But instead, here in the United States, and we probably won't see much difference here in Maryland because we are a leftist state anyway. But the federal government has increasingly handed down leftist indoctrination, lesson plans, and all kinds of stuff. And then it trickles down to the states. Shelley, what did you think about this?
Yeah, that's the point right there. These teachers unions, the NEA and the AFT, of which Randi Weingarten is, I guess, whatever the president or whatever her title is, that's the key. They get to influence at the policy level in the federal U.S. Department of Education. Those dollars that the teachers unions collect overwhelmingly go to support political parties, primarily the Democratic Party, and they influence heavily the education policies that then trickle down for the rest of Americans to have to be, you know, under all of this this pressure, this big weight, if you will, regarding individuals or their families and their children that are being educated in the public schools. So that's the power that Randi Weingarten will ultimately lose if the state takes over and parents have more direct input. It's always about power and it's always about money. And 99% of the times, those things are intertwined. They're interlocked. Take away the money, you take away the power. Take away the power and the money is going to dwindle as well. So that's what Randi Weingarten is ultimately.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a super chatter here. Thank you so much. All right. Let's see here. We have, Kung Fu CJ says, you're right, Nicole. Absolutely. I mean, folks, and you brought up a good point, Shelley, with the money. And so we've seen over this last, I'd say 5 to 10 years, how the Department of Education has been funding these disgusting NGOs. There's a particular one, and we talked about this on the show previously, which argues that white children must push through all of the white fantasy that is just part of what it means to grow up in a white supremacist society. So we saw a lot of this critical race theory. They would hire some of these DEI consultants, some of these NGOs to come in and push forward this type of stuff on our children. And then you have kids coming home saying, oh, you know, white kids coming home saying I'm an oppressor, and black kids coming home saying I'm a victim and oppressed. This is the type of stuff that they push out of the Department of Education. And we've seen that it's had a devastating effect on our youth.
It's had an effect on our whole country. Right. You know, when you think about it, being a good American has taken such a back seat to all of these other little things that you need to be good at, right? And when we talk to children as adults, and they're saying, oh, well, you know, my teacher told me that I'm a victim, and they're kind of absorbing and making that a part of their personhood, you got to let these kids know you were privileged to be born under these stars and stripes. There are people who bleed and fight and die to protect you, and there are people who would give their right arm to live one day in your shoes. This is a beautiful thing. KJ's shirt, Sine said in the chat, how can you get that shirt? Not black, not white. That's a great shirt. Go to www.popandpoliticslive.com and you can find that shirt there, as well as a lot of other shirts. Now, people who are fans of the show will tell you that I am absolutely partial to the classic white. Let me just say that, the classic white, because it matches everything. Jeans, you can wear with a skirt. It does a lot. But the sentiment is the same. It's more important to be a good American. More important to be a good American and teach your children that being an American is a privilege. This is something that God has blessed you with. Imagine being someone born somewhere else in the world and you have to fight for everything. And then you see this shining beacon on the hill and you want to get there. We're that beacon. Stop telling our kids that they're not good enough. We're the best.
Yeah. Rico Wright says different levels to U.S. education, premium and basic. Yeah. I mean, in fiscal year 2024, according to the New York Post, the Department of Education spent $268 billion. And since 1980, the spending has increased 372%, which is almost double the increase of the size of the rest of the federal government. Then last year, the Department of Education spent $165 billion on higher education. That's nearly half the total funds spent by the entire department. So that money went to colleges and universities to prop up the great scam that is higher education. And those grants went to students to major in lesbian dance theory.
Right. So, I think it was, I think it was Walter Williams. And I saw something over the weekend that just reminded me, I loved him as well. Rest in peace, Mr. Williams. He says, again, what you subsidize, you get more of. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you get better outcomes. You just get more of whatever you're subsidizing. That's the general theme of our government in general. The more we subsidize X, the more we get X, but it doesn't mean that we're going to get a Y or A results.
Right. Absolutely. And again, we talked about this on the show previously. We showed a clip of how the Department of Education funded another NGO, which argued that educators should destigmatize sex work, especially for queer and trans people of color and LGBT youth. So this is the stuff that the Education Department was pushing out to classrooms all over the country. This was K through 12. And they starting the Department of Education, and in order to get funds from them, they would mandate that these school systems teach this crap, and that's what it is. So we gotta shut it down. All right. So folks, you know, as I said earlier in the broadcast, please hit that like button and subscribe. If you have not done so already, what are you waiting for? This is what we do here. We try to get, you guys, the truth out. We try to get you the facts that the mainstream media fails to talk about. So hit that like button and subscribe. And you guys know, Speaking of the mainstream media, we've cut them off a long time ago. The grifting mainstream media. Take a look at this, and this will talk to you what we're doing now about it.
We should note, again, and you and I have said this in the air many times, there is no evidence that Joe Biden was, involved in any wrongdoing.
Of course, I want to note that there is no evidence that Joe Biden or Hunter Biden has done anything wrong.
I just want to reiterate.
And let's be clear for the viewers.
There is no evidence Biden did anything wrong.
Governor, you got a second?
Literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your heart? Because I don't believe it.
This is why independent media is so important. Thanks to people like you, patriots who love America and stand for truth, we're making a difference. Together, we've turned them off, called them out for their lies and propaganda, and held them accountable for their disdain for God-fearing, freedom-loving Americans like us. But we can't stop here. It's time to take action with our dollars. Let's make 2025 the year we double down on our commitment to values-driven choices. Vote with your dollars. Support Made in America. Back companies that honor our families, faith, and country. We found an exciting way to make this switch, and we want you to join us. Check out www.popandswitch.com and click Yes, I Want to Make the Switch. It's that easy. It's time to walk away from corporations like BlackRock and Vanguard that undermine our principles. Let's invest in America. Let's support businesses that share our love for this country. You don't have to take on everything at once, but you can start here. Join us in making this one small yet powerful step. Visit www.popandswitch.com. Click the link and schedule a call with our team to learn how you can make the switch. Together, we can create real change.
What's up, guys? This is Giovanni, co-founder of Metro Conservative Media. We are the definitive home for the urban conservative. You think you got what it takes? Go to metroconservativemedia.com and click Join the Movement now.
All right, there you have it. Okay, so moving right along, I want to change gears a little bit and talk about Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick was on Meet the Press this weekend, and he had a lot to say. I know there's been a lot of stuff talked about with Trump and these tariffs. Is the economy going to be negatively affected? Take a look here. This is clip 2.
Secretary, let's start with this past week. As you know, for the second time in 2 months, President Trump announced and then walked back tariffs on Canada and Mexico, the whiplash causing confusion on Wall Street and Main Street as well. Does the president have a responsibility to businesses and consumers to spell out his plan and then stick to it?
You have to remember, this is a drug-related issue. You've got fentanyl pouring into this country, killing 75,000 Americans, autopsied. And the president, thinks it's many, many more, because multiples more. So it's important for the president to talk to the leaders of both Canada and Mexico, get them to shut the border, shut the fentanyl coming into the country. And of course, he's going to be on the phone with them. And of course, he's going to talk to them. And he is a deal maker, the greatest deal maker in the world. So he makes better deals. He's gotten the border closed. He's gotten fentanyl to be shut down. He put tariffs on China, who makes the precursors. This is the way you run the country. You shut the border. You get our neighbors to do their job. It's not only us who has to do their job. Why are our neighbors who live and breathe off our economy not taking care of America?
All right. So I want to start off with you, Tyrone, on this. Did Trump say and do too much too soon? Is he flip-flopping on tariffs and abolishing the income tax?
No, I think what's happening is they're a little discombobulated because you're seeing how a business works. Okay, businesses work on a much quicker tempo than the government. In order to do these tariffs, if there was a will within the Democrats to do it, they would have had to have focus groups, study sessions. It would have gone through the Department of Commerce for 6 or 7 months. It would have been just, it would have operated so slowly that it would have never gotten done. So Trump is feeling the situation out, going back and forth. It takes, when you walk into McDonald's and order something, there's a lot of chaos in the kitchen, but if you get what you want, this is the inner workings of a business. People are starting to see that. It's kind of like when they persecuted Trump for his taxes, right? Sure. Well, he's out there in the business world, so his situation is going to look a lot different than some welfare queen like Hillary Clinton, who sat in government for the past, 80 years. So this is the difference that we're seeing. And I'm comfortable with it. Absolutely 100%. If tariffs scare you, then make a list of American companies and buy from them, and you will avoid tariffs.
All right. All right. Shelley, what are your thoughts on that exchange? How are you feeling about all of this?
Oh, look, I'm fine. The stock market has volatility. That's a part of the stock market. That's a part of how you make your earnings, over time, depending on your stocks. But look, I don't remember hearing all of this from the left. I think it was in March of, at least according to Wikipedia, when I looked it up today, March of 2009, when under then President Obama, the stock market, the Dow Jones dropped about 20%. And, I didn't hear all of this, the sky's falling, at least not for that long. It was something that was normal, and this is going to happen. It'll come back. And generally speaking, Tyrone, correct me if I'm wrong, generally speaking, when the market does go back up, you tend to recoup not only what you lost, but some profits as well. Over time. Again, I'm not talking about day trading or in quick fix. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about over time, those people who are in the market for the long haul, if you will. So I'm not concerned about it. I think President Trump, as a businessman, as an excellent business guy, I think he does these things to test, to see how people, or how the market, if you will, is going to respond. And then he's still making his adjustments along the way. That's the only way I can put it, at least in my understanding.
Mm-hmm. And you're right, Shelley. If folk had stayed in, for example, throughout the whole events of 2020, if it was an S&P based investment, they would have come out of that up 45%. So yeah, look, and this is another philosophy that I operate under. When 2020 happened, I started buying. My philosophy is this: look, if it is the end of the world, okay, but if it isn't, I'm going to come out on the other end of this smelling like a rose.
Yeah. Nicole, one thing that I think at least has been calming and helpful to see for me is how President Trump has been front and center since he was elected. I don't think there has been a president in history since television and social media has been invented or used as much as it has that has been more accessible than President Trump. You talked about this earlier today, how news broke that Biden, it came out that he wasn't even signing off on many of the orders that he made. Can you talk more about that and how that relates to what we're seeing with this economy and the tariffs and things?
The thing about President Trump is that he's very present. He's present in the decisions that he makes. He's present in his leadership style. And when you do something like Tyrone was saying in business, and there's a change, there's a market change, you don't stick to the plan that's not working. You make the adjustments for the greater benefit of everyone involved. That's how business works. A lot of companies, and in 2020, when the market was a little iffy, were like, I'm not buying anything. But smart people said, listen, I'm buying while it's cheap, and I'm going to ride it until it gets to a peak number that I've set in my mind. And then I'm going to offload it to the people who wish they would have bought it way back when. This is how the economy works. But President Trump is very, very present in that. What we've seen, Heritage put out a paper noting that Joe Biden, with the exception of his announcement that he was not going to seek re-election, was using AutoPen to sign his executive orders. I mean, his executive order signatures are computer perfect. in almost every document except for the one document that we know he signed himself. So who was really the president? Who was really running the country? Who was making the decisions? Because AutoPen works for anybody with the code. Anybody who can access it can put your signature on things. It makes me wonder if it was a cognitive ability or disability, why someone else was making those decisions for him, or has he always been kind of this liberal Trojan horse? He technically holds the office, but the minions are actually running the show. You know, there's a lot of money saying that it was Jill. I don't think she has that capacity. I'm just going to keep it really honest with you. But I think there were definitely some Soros-backed liberal bad actors that took this as their opportunity with this blank slate of a human being. God bless them. You know, dementia's hard. I know my father suffered with it. Dementia is hard. But the people who used him and abused him, there's a special place in hell for you, a very special place in hell for you. But I do want to know who the president was for those 4 years, who was making those decisions, who had the passcodes to the auto pen, and who was signing what based on whose authority.
My God, that's scary. That is so scary. A real life Manchurian candidate is what we had in office over the last 4 years. I want to acknowledge our super chatters. And folks, I want you guys to sound off on this. What do you think about this? Is horrifying. Kung Fu CJ says, when they pass the tax bill, people will see a benefit. Thank you so much for your $5 super chat, Kung Fu. Rico says, Trump helping them get their mind right. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right. Yeah, this is scary stuff right there. Folks, you know, I definitely want to hear what you guys think on that. And folks, let's get this video to 600 likes before the stream ends. I know you guys can do it. Hit that like button now and subscribe if you haven't done so. Let's spread this truth. I hadn't heard that talked about much in the mainstream media. I wonder why.
Well, yeah, it just came out over the weekend. Interestingly, it came out over the weekend when the news cycle is a little bit not as active. So people are just starting to hear about it.
It should be front page.
It should be. But we've said on here, certainly over the last year, maybe year and a half of the, I think it was the Biden presidency, that, you know, he was out to lunch, if you will, you know, eating ice cream, falling off bikes, falling off the steps, things like that. This does need to be investigated. This is beyond a coup. This is basically treason.
It is.
Yeah,
it absolutely is.
Tell this to Lake and Riley's parents. Tell this to all of those people who have been killed by illegals. Tell this to the children who have been mutilated behind all of these executive orders that he signed for the transgender surgeries and all this type of stuff. I mean, who was really behind this? And once again, these people need to be prosecuted. They took advantage of an elderly, degenerative man. And Jill Biden, she hasn't been talked about enough. They need to go, like you said, Nicole, there's a cold place in hell. Is it a hot place in hell? Well, wherever it is, where they need to be, because they
Definitely
took advantage of
it. Definitely hot.
Yeah, a hot place in hell, yeah.
Let's
she need to be charred.
Let's also remember now, let's not burnish his legacy. It is unfortunate that he has dementia, but this is a man who worked alongside Strom Thurmond, tried to resegregate the school system. Tara Reid, okay, that whole thing, whatever happened with that. So this was not, in any way, shape, or form, this was not a nice man. You can go back and look at videos of him. Very arrogant, very imperious, talking about his IQ, when in fact he was one of the dumbest people in his law school class. So, you know, yeah, it is unfortunate, but I'm going to give him the John McCain treatment. Yeah, okay, you were a veteran, and it is unfortunate you were captured. You were a piss poor senator and a warmonger also. So, yeah, right. Biden had dementia, but Biden is an evil bastard also.
And again, I'm only giving him for the last year, 2 years, maybe, for the dementia. You're right, Tyrone. Up until then, I think he, Nicole, you were saying maybe 4 years. I don't think so, because he was too arrogant to not be in charge, at least for the last 1 to 2 years with his dementia. Up until then, he wants to take all the credit, all the glory for whatever he did. So he wouldn't let anybody else do that.
It's scary though. It's just scary to think that, you know, we were on the brink of World War. We're still kind of teetering. You know, Russia's being Russia, you know, the Ukraine's being a spoiled brat. You know, Iran is saber rattling. North Korea is firing ballistic missiles. We got some stuff to resolve. Imagine if we would actually have had a president who had his eyes on the prize, who was paying attention for the last 4 years. Could we have avoided some of this? You know, I will never include the holy war that's going on in Israel. I'm never going to include that because that's going to rage on for eons. But the rest of these skirmishes and wars, if we would have had clear thinking individuals leading the nation, would the world be in this state? I mean, it's not
pullout.
Yeah, it's not just a thing that affected America. I mean, the whole entire world. This is outrageous behavior and absolutely needs to be investigated.
Yeah, Trey's Chocolate City, thank you for your super chat. Says, watch the movie 0 Day. Absolutely. We have Kung Fu CJ says, my wife has dementia and I feel you, Nicole. Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that.
The Scrapping Beauty with the $10 super chat says, I appreciate your input and output in explaining not just civics, but how politics affects all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura says, our country has been running on autopilot. Absolutely, folks. I'm not super old, but I'm old enough to say and have seen that when you, especially, and I'm talking about President Biden, when you live a life like he has and you harm people, especially if it was intentionally, and as you mentioned, Tyrone, you know, he was a cruel man. He wasn't a good person. He was not. You will suffer. You will suffer. And I'll share this quick story. I know of a friend of a family friend who was a womanizer. The man was very nasty throughout his life, just handling women any old kind of way, treating them any old kind of way. He didn't take care of his kids. And as he got up in age, he contracted diabetes. And right before he died, he lost his limbs because of the diabetes, including his penis. His penis fell off. God is not playing around, folks. Isn't that something?
I'm going to pay a lot more attention to these diabetes commercials.
Right. Tara's face was priceless. He's like,
I didn't know that was possible. Wow.
Is it, Shelly? That's what I think it was diabetes he had. Huh? Oh, I know you know about all this, you know, the sexual
I have to say, I have never heard of someone's penis just falling off like that. I mean, if anything, it would have to be surgically removed for whatever reason.
Oh, no, it was not surgically removed. He started to lose his limbs, and one of them was his penis.
Why didn't you tell me about this diabetic thing before I started eating the dessert, KJ? You watched me eat the dessert, KJ.
Well, Tyrone, you're a good man. So you have nothing to worry about. You're a good man. But I just say that to say, you know, there's always consequences. And I hope he has repented. I hope he has, you know, maybe made his way right and whatever. It doesn't seem like he has, but I'm not going to judge.
He's still alive.
LML says, I pity the poor fool that found it.
Wait, I hate to laugh. I mean, I'm serious. I'm telling you that this is something
KJ, I'm laughing because number one, I think this is far-fetched, but
everybody talks about it in my family. It was a huge thing. They say, you know, wow, he was
he got Lorena Bobbitt. You know, his wife came in there. One of them women came in there.
His limbs fell off, his toes, his penis.
They didn't fall off like that. They didn't just fall off like that, but okay.
Oh.
So when their limbs don't come off, they might lose a toe, right? But their limbs don't come off. We remove, we amputate.
KJ don't.
But again, it may have been a situation where one of them ladies that he was misusing and abusing went in and gave him the snip.
Tyrone, have you heard of this?
Thank God, not until tonight.
Oh, exactly. Okay. Well,
I love it.
All right, folks.
That's funny.
We got to get back on task here. So I want to move on to Russia. All right. So here's a clip on MSNBC where this guy is basically saying that Russia is the bad guy and we need to support Ukraine. I want to get you guys' thoughts on this. This is clip 1.
The person who's watching, who just heard you say Donald Trump is not standing up for Ukraine. What do you say to the person who says, well, I don't care about Ukraine. I want Donald Trump to stand up for America. What do you say to them?
I don't know where you got that. I mean, I don't have time for it.
Yes, because, but we hear it. We hear it.
Here's the thing. Where did you grow up? Did you grow up in a place where you thought the Russians were the good guys? What part of America did you grow up in where they taught you the Russians were the good guys and our allies were the bad guys? That's the flip here that we need to continue to remind people. The Russians are the bad guys. They're raping women. They're killing children. They're bombing cities. The Ukrainians are the noble good guys. In some ways, they're more American than we are over the last couple of years. And we must stand with them in the same way we stood with the allies in World War II and since this country was founded. This is not just about Ukraine. This is about the core and the integrity of American values. And that's what he's also betraying. Not just Ukraine, he's betraying America.
All right, Shelley, are the Russians the bad guys and the Ukrainians the noble good guys?
No, not necessarily. I wanted to correct him a little bit. He said just like we need to stand with the allies. Well, Russia was an ally in World War II, so that blows out his theory that Russia is automatically the bad guy. Look, in any war, have there been and will there be atrocities committed? Raping people. What do you call it? Pilgrimage. Yes. So both sides have done that and are doing that. It does not mean, I still believe from the beginning that Russia invaded Ukraine. So I think this whole thing could have been avoided again, but I'm going to say, here we are. We have a chance to get peace. It does not mean Zelensky is without fault. No, it doesn't. But this idea that Russia is automatically bad and we need to support Ukraine, to what end? To what end? Ukraine cannot win this war. They have millions of people, or at least hundreds of thousands of people, innocent people, people who should not have died. Russia has casualties as well. But the war needs to end.
Yeah. I want to get you in on this, Nicole. Before we do, I want to acknowledge our super chatters here, folks. Thank you all so much. Rico says, Tyrone, call 1-800 John. Tell him I sent you. All right, Rico. Kung Fu CJ. All right, he says, I know a pastor who was ratchet in his church and lost his legs, were cut. He degraded so bad he stepped down from the church. Mm-hmm. All right, thank you.
You didn't get that. That was a joke. You didn't get that. His legs were cut, and he said he stepped down
from his church.
Stepped down from the church. Okay. I get it now. All right, thank you, Kung Fu. Thank you, Vintage China Girl, for your super chat. We certainly appreciate you all so much. All right, Nicole. So you heard it on MSNBC. They said the Russians are the bad guys and the Ukrainians are the noble good guys. Do you agree with that?
Listen, Russia, get off of it. Curious Kit said in the chat exactly what I was thinking. The most important thing that he said was they're more American than Americans. Say what now? Say what? So if they were more American than us, they wouldn't be here with hat in hand begging for money. They wouldn't do that. They wouldn't need our weapons if they were more American than us. This is a war that we're not going to fight by proxy. We're not going to do that. We're not going to be Britain. We're not going to put boots on the ground. We're not going to do that. Zelensky is a brat, period. He was a brat during Biden or whoever was running the White House at that point. He was a brat during that situation, and they should have handled his butt then. He's a brat still today, and kudos to President Trump and J.D. Vance for holding his feet to the fire. When you come and ask somebody for money, to fight your war, because we don't have a dog in that fight. We really don't. You don't come over here talking trash to us, acting nasty, put on a damn suit. You come to the White House. How dare you? You walking in here like you're going to Topgolf. What the hell is wrong with you? There's something inherently wrong with this man that he feels like the United States is going to fight this war for him. Nothing could be further from the truth. And it's about time that he learned that. And having these talking heads go on and say, oh, Russia is a bad place. Russia are bad people. Russia, Russia, Russia. Not our fight. It's just not our fight. And that's not an isolation type of position. It's just facts. This is not our fight. This is a European thing. Let them handle their own business. If you need help, call us. But we're not going to be the ones who are going to fund this crazy war.
Yeah, Tyrone. So my question to you is, let's say tomorrow President Trump is able to negotiate a ceasefire and it's done. It's over. So are we then friends with Russia? Are they now our ally? Is this something that we, the United States, should work towards for Russia to become an ally? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah,
what should be the relationship between us and Russia?
We should definitely work to normalize relations with Russia because, as Shelley said, look, when they were the Soviet Union, we worked with them in World War II. Now, the other thing is, whoever that guy was speaking, he might as well be wearing a CIA lapel pin. For him to come up and try to condense this into some Saturday morning cartoon, good guys, bad guys, it is a hell of a lot more nuanced than that. And thankfully, a lot of Americans are waking up to that fact. Look, what did we do when the Soviets, Khrushchev, when they located nuclear weapons in Cuba? We didn't like that. It's too close to us, right? A little known historical fact is that was in response to us locating nuclear weapons in Turkey, okay, at the time. So both nations had a big problem with that proximity issue. So we demonstrated that we understand that. We have the Monroe Doctrine. I think that we would do better to go back, stop trying to encircle Russia. Notice we always need a villain, right? Even if the villain is a paper tiger like Saddam, okay, Americans always have to have a villain. And then the other thing I'd caution Americans against, because we're seeing a lot of people switch from pro-war to anti-peace. And I would caution people, look, we haven't had a war on our soil since 1812, okay? This is not shocking all you watch on TV after work. Lives are in the balance. You look at the male population of Ukraine, it's been decimated. They won't recover for decades. So peace is what we should be striving for. Yes, we should normalize relations with Russia. And look, the only people who are against that are people who are on the payroll of the military industrial complex.
Exactly. Let me ask you guys this. Let me ask you this, because I agree there for the most part. But just to kind of, want to get your guys' response to the opposition. Russia has funded many pro-terror groups from Hezbollah to, terror in Syria, Libya, Mali, Central African Republic, many terror groups that were against the United States. So how does that come into play with this and how we interact with them in the future?
Real quick, we just saw USAID tents housing Al-Qaeda members. We just gave the Taliban a military a few years ago, at least equipment-wise. We funded Saddam Hussein against Iran. We funded Manuel Noriega. We participated in the Iran-Contra. I mean, so this is just stuff that nation states do. For anyone to say, oh, well, look at all this stuff that Russia did. I can find you at least one incident that we did for every one they did.
Exactly. And look, we, like you said, Tyrone, number one, we have been normalizing, if you will, relations with Russia for a long time, certainly since the fall of the Berlin Wall, the fall of the USSR, with Gorbachev and what was it, Glasnost? I'm sure I'm not saying it correctly.
Glasnost and Perestroika.
Exactly. So we have been normalizing. And I remember when I was in, I think I'm going to say middle school, there was this philosophy or this policy called MAD, mutually assured destruction. And it kept both superpowers at bay. And, you know, it was sort of like each one was the other's foil, right? That was fine. So we had no choice, if you will, except to, okay, neither one of us wants to blow up, and we don't want to blow up half the world with us. So we're going to find a way to normalize this relationship some kind of way. Yes, we know we have different philosophical and cultural beliefs, but there's some way. What did Kamala Harris say? She likes Venn diagrams. That little Venn diagram in the middle. There's some way we're going to find some common ground.
Exactly. Trump was talking about this, I think it was today, it might have been yesterday, that, you know, nobody wants that kind of war because all of us die. Millions of people are going to die over some absolute foolishness. We have got to find a way to get to peace. And that means nobody gets 100% of what you're asking for. Compromise is going to happen. You're going to have to take all of the ego off and say, listen, do I really want to be the one nation in the world where everybody's saying you're the cause of the war that killed millions of people, right? Take a step back, catch your breath, and be reasonable. And if you're not willing to be reasonable, we'll be reasonable for you. See, this is the thing with Zelensky. He's got his administrations mixed up, because if he thinks for one moment that throwing a hissy fit in the Oval Office is going to get him what he wants from this administration, he's smoking crack. That's not going to work. You're going to have to be a big boy. Put your big boy panties on and come have a seat and talk to them like an adult.
All right. Yeah. I certainly agree. I certainly agree with all of it. Folks, we are building a movement here. One like, one share, one subscriber at a time. Help us grow by smashing that like button, sharing this stream, and subscribing for more bold, unapologetic truth. All right. So speaking of relationships with other nations, we move to Canada. So here's a clip. Recently, Canada's ruling party elected Mark Carney as the new leader. Next PM who says U.S. must show respect. This is clip 3.
What's up, guys? This is Giovanni, co-founder of Metro Conservative Media. We are the definitive home for the urban conservative. You think you got what it takes? Go to metroconservativemedia.com and click join the movement now.
There's someone who's trying to do the opposite. There's someone who's trying to weaken our economy. Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, as we know, has put, as the Prime Minister just said, unjustified tariffs on what we build, on what we sell, on how we make a living. He's attacking Canadian families, workers, and businesses, and we cannot let him succeed. And we won't. I am proud of the response of Canadians who are making their voices heard and their wallets felt. I am grateful for how our provinces are stepping up to the fight, because when we are united, we are Canada strong. The Canadian government has rightly retaliated and is rightly retaliating with our own tariffs that will have maximum impact in the United States and minimum impact here in Canada. And my government will keep our tariffs on until the Americans show us respect.
All right, Tyrone. So several critics of President Trump have celebrated this guy, Mark Carney, who is a World Economic Forum goon. What are your thoughts on his speech? And how does this affect us in the U.S. going forward with him representing the Liberal Party?
Canada, the people are great, right? But these political leaders of Canada, I think they believe that since we're connected geographically, I think they actually have started to believe that they are in our league, and they're not. Okay, this is the state of Maryland, which is a smaller state, has a $500 billion annual GDP. That's about 25% of Canada's GDP. Okay, this is not a serious player on the world stage. Canada Force One, or I don't know, Grey Goose, or whatever the hell they call it, that carries their prime minister around, broke down in some foreign country, stranded this guy like he was on Southwest last year. Okay,
he was on Spirit.
Right. I mean, okay, so yeah, sure. Maple syrup prices, I'll switch to Miss Butterworth's. Okay, not that big of a deal. So really, their GDP is about 6% of ours. Not a factor. Not a factor. You see all of these companies saying, all right, Toyota said, all right, we're going to bring more manufacturing to America. All right, Canada, you produce cars, so what? The Toyotas and the Hondas are coming here. All right. The toy industry in America is $30 billion annually. More toy manufacturers are saying, oh, yeah, let's go back to America. This is what you're going to see. So this fool, this maple syrup swilling fool, instead of sitting down with us and trying to negotiate, he's putting his people at great economic risk. But, you know, there's got to be an example. Someone has to be slapped around, and let it be a Canadian. Fine.
Yeah, but Nicole, the Canadians in Canada have been one of our longest allies. Doesn't this tension, isn't this an issue that we have the tensions are currently very high?
Not at all. And I think ally is a strong word. We've been protecting them from the inception. Canada's greatest strength is that they're attached to the United States. Make no mistake. And they know that. Here's a riddle for you. What's the difference between Canadian Dems and American Dems? An F-bomb. They're just as lame. This guy was as charming as a wet damn blanket at a fire parade. He was horrible. And they're all going, woo, Canada's strong, Canada's strong. Tariffs bad, tariffs bad. When they have that election, they're going to F around and find out. The gentleman who's running from the Conservative Party is going to mop the floor with them, because a lot of Canadians are sick of not being able to afford to live in Canada. The taxes are outrageous. Crime is high. And oh, by the way, these aren't unwarranted tariffs. You were leaking Chinese and everybody else into this country with fentanyl and everything else. They literally have GoPros in the trees, and you can see them quite literally walking across the border and then hopping a Greyhound upstate New York to get to the city. This is ridiculous. It's not unwarranted. You guys did the wrong thing, and you're lucky we like you. That's all I'm going to say about that. Very lucky we like you, and even more blessed that you're attached.
Yeah. Yeah, Shelley. I mean, you know, you would think that... Sometimes I think about it like this, as Nicole said, you know, they were leaking. They were leaking like a bloody sanitary napkin, and President Trump is here to put a tampon in it. What?
Look, while we're putting tampons, I want to encourage our audience, get some t-shirts. And again, remember last week I said you don't want to be naked. Just get some t-shirts and some pants or whatever we have on our site, poppinpoliticslive.com. Put some stuff on. Now, first of all,
on the site.
First of all, this man, I want every country to be, you know, for itself, right? But I want you to do that on your own damn dime, okay? You rely on the United States. I think, number one, your Canadian bacon sucks, number one. I'm going to add this. I still like King syrup, which is, I think, made in New York City. The King syrup, remember that old big can?
I do. I have some of it.
That's right. I got something to you. I still want King syrup because maple syrup sucks. It's thin.
Oh, no.
I like King syrup. I'm with Shelley.
It's nothing but sugar, high fructose corn syrup.
That blood that's on that pad that KJ talked about. It's thinner than that. The blood is thicker than the maple syrup. That's the blood. Now, and
Y'all
number
been
three,
doing pancakes.
Number three, this man, what's his name? Mark Carney.
Mm-hmm.
If I recall, he was the same one. All you Canadian truckers, come on over to the U.S. side, because he was the same one that supported having your bank accounts and your hard-earned Canadian dollars frozen because you had the audacity to protest, that they were doing the things that they were doing for COVID. So this is your prime minister now, or who you're electing, Canada, by and large. Truckers, come on over to the American side. We love you in America. We know our livelihood depends on you transporting our goods. Leave that fake Canadian bacon and that thin maple syrup over on the other side of the border and come on back to the U.S. on this side.
Yeah, like the Canadian bacon. It's like that's not bacon. It's like ham. Okay.
Cheap ham.
So yeah, that's an import. We don't want that. Okay. Who wants that? So Canada, hey, look, we can send the Baltimore City Police Department and a couple of Boy Scout troops up there and plant an American flag by Friday. Okay. That's what Canada is.
Yeah. I'll leave it at this. Give me some North Carolina country sausage any day over that Canadian bacon. Have you all tried the North Carolina country sausage? My good God Almighty, that's some good with some pancakes. But I do like maple syrup. I started using 100% maple syrup many years ago, and I can't do anything else over it. I love 100% maple syrup, but we can get it from Vermont. Vermont makes it.
That's fine. As long as I come from Canada, but give me King syrup, the old school King syrup, any day.
Okay.
Well, listen. After what KJ said, I'm not touching sugar for quite some time. Okay.
All right, folks. Well, if you enjoyed tonight, we have more coming with Metro Conservative Media. We are a network here with conservative content. Tomorrow night we have the All American Talk Show on YouTube here. Check them out. They have a great show lined up for you tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. Then we will be back on Wednesday. Right here, we'll be live in the studio on Poppin' Politics right here at 8 p.m. on Wednesday. And then Thursday is Christian Conservative. That's me. Can you believe it? Me talking this way, I am a Christian. And so it's Christian Conservative, KJCJ, Christian Conservative, right here on YouTube. Subscribe. And then you have Saturday, Just the Guys. And this one right here, Tyrone is featured. He's one of the guys, just one. But it's Just the Guys podcast right here on YouTube. So subscribe to all of them. They're on the Metro Conservative Media Network, and we will link it in the comments. All right. So that does it for us tonight. Oh, we do have a super chatter?
Yep, we got super chatters.
Vintage? Is it vintage? Starting with vintage? Oh,
Rico, yes. So, Shelly, have you been lifting them pots?
I surely do. I lift pots a couple times a week, Rico.
Oh, good. Keep you in the kitchen.
That's right. I like sausage too. I lift them. I cut my sausage up too, like KJ says. Cut the sausage out with the King syrup. We in the house.
Okay.
No Canadian bacon.
Yeah. No. We need to boycott, just like the left is boycotting DEI. Let's start boycotting Canadian bacon. That is what we are going to do.
That's right.
All right, folks. Well,
and I'm talking, and those fake coins they got too. Those fake coins and whatever their currency is, all that fake money. But whatever.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So we are America first, and that's what we are. We hope that this tensions calm down and they become part of America. That's what we want. So that does it for us tonight, folks. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, count your blessings and live a life of purpose. And get your t-shirts. Good night.
Get your t-shirts.
It's time for Pop and Politics. It appears that time period following slavery and Jim Crow were not as harmful to the Black community as the legacy of liberalism and the welfare state.
Because you have this candidate that checks all these boxes. Well, she's black-ish, check the box. She's female, check the box. She's from California, check the box. And she's not Joe Biden. Right. Most importantly, check the box. We ought to win. Somebody roll out Beyonce.
You lie, you steal, you cheat, you cause fear, you cause all kinds of chaos, and now you want us to somehow take your sob stories as if you're on our side. Get the...
We are seeing, how Marxism, how communism have infiltrated many of our institutions, and one of the main institutions that have been infiltrated is the church. Welcome to Christian Conservative.
The Christian agenda is good for everybody.
President Trump, he's embracing God's design for the identity of man that you would think Christians would be happy about and hold on to, but they're not, especially Black Christians.
That's a very scary place to be. If you deny me in front of people, Jesus said, I will deny you in front of my Father.
This was political. They wanted to make an example out of you.
God forbid I had kissed the ring. I would have kissed the ring and still got sentenced that same way.
I said, Lord, you put him in because your sister was in jail.
Welcome back to the All-American Talk Show.
We are talking about OnlyFans, otherwise known as Lonely Fans.
And 4.1 million creators, 84% are female. They earn an average of $180 per month.
Bill's gonna go meet someone in an alley by a dumpster, and KJ and I are gonna keep talking for a little bit.
Oh my gosh, I had a bad dream, Giovanni. It's like I had to watch multiple minutes of The View.
As Maryland literally tried to take the word parent out of health education.
I don't care about the public schools, and I don't care about the teachers there. What I care about are that the students who go there get the education they need to become productive adults.
Just the Guys Podcast.
They all look the same. He's a real pretty boy, asking the questions real softly and nodding his head. Yes, mama. Yes, mama.
Madam President, these gentlemen do not believe that you are intelligent. I beg to differ.
I was the first vice president or president to ever in office go to a reproductive health care clinic.
Her strategy to win Black votes was putting a twerking rapper on stage, saying that she cooked collard greens in the bathtub.
And you see a lot of Black men typically vote in the way of the cooch.
When you take government out of it, things go back to where they're supposed to go. All of these things that the guy should have done to protect himself, why don't we just say keep your legs closed?
80% of the world walking out there is hedonistic degenerates who believe freedom is defined by how hedonistic and degenerate you express yourself.
You better thank a union member.